And we are finally live. My apologies to everybody in the chat if you're still there. Um, I had a bunch of technical difficulties to begin this episode of Mountaineer Paul Talk Football. We've got Jack in studio, which usually I do an introduction, so that tells you how flustered I am right now. Um, so I'm going to go ahead and give it to him anyway. We've got Jack here. He does a lot of stuff for Texas Tech. I've got his stuff at Jack Bell Sports on Twitter. Um, he's a Red Raiders guy, and you'll see that cactus usually on anything he's involved in. How you doing today, Jack?
We're hanging in there. We overcome the tech issues. That's what this is all about, right? This is what we're in it for, right? So, no, we're doing good. We're doing good. I hope you're good as well, Paul.
Yeah, doing well. I'm not even on my laptop right now. This is on my phone. So we'll see how it goes. I haven't done this in a while, guys. Remember, I was on the Galaxy S10 for like a year and a half, and where I was able to upgrade to a couple different times. But it's been a cool transition. But the thing about like the camera I have now is I have no idea how to troubleshoot that. So we'll have a lot of fun dealing with that after this. Okay. Let's do a proper introduction here. My name is Mountaineer Paul. This is an edition of Mountaineer Paul Talk Football. This is going to be a game preview, but off-season review at the same time. So we're going to go over the off-season for Texas Tech, talk a little bit about what that's looked like through Jack's eyes. What does they expect for Joe McGuire and company in 2024? Because West Virginia and Texas Tech are in similar boats, but I would argue West Virginia is probably in the Texas Tech seat from last year, where Tech was viewed as a real dark horse. And because of they didn't meet those expectations last year, 7-5, the real bad start out the gate, bad loss to BYU. And I think people soured on them a little bit, whether it should be or not, even though I think Baron Morton's a stud, and what you guys did with the offensive line in the portal is going to show up and pay huge dividends for a guy that's pretty dang scary when he gets protection. But what has the offseason looked like for you? And I've got a list of names here just to help you out. I'm not saying you don't know your stuff, but I figured I could pull it up anyway. That way you'll have access to it. Here's the first half of names. And just let me know, and then any of these names stick out to you as somebody that's really going to make an impact. This is from the first half of the list.
Just off the top, your top two wide receivers right there are going to be huge.
Yep.
Big names, of course, coming onto campus in Josh Kelly and Caleb Douglas. A lot of eyes on Josh Kelly just because of the performance he had last year with Washington State. They think that he's poised for another huge year. Him along with, Caleb Douglas he's a stud when he's healthy. Unfortunately, bowed out after about 4 or 5 games last year with that injury. So as long as he's healthy, which everything that I've heard and seen, shows that he is. And so looking for a big breakout year from him as well. Your guy, Connors from Arizona State, just adds to an already massive tight end room that Tech has. Had to replace a couple of guys that left, but I think that he fills a hole nicely there. So you're going to be coming back with another Tech team that has a stacked tight end room. That was one of the things, and amongst, at least in Tech crowds, is that at certain points in time, maybe the tight end room wasn't utilized properly or as well as it could have been, I should say. So they're going to be looking to, utilize that tight end room a lot more this season. But man, I'm excited with what they've done in the receiving core as well. Guys like Kelly and Douglas, Tech's all-time best recruit coming in as a freshman, and Micah Hudson, just an absolute huge get. He's going to be an impact guy off the jump. he's gonna play in every single game. And he's going to be targeted a lot. You add him to guys that are coming back with some experience, like Coy Eakin out there. We had a lot of guys leave from the receiving corps, whether it be to graduation or transfer from the receiving corps. And, from what we've seen so far, at least through spring ball, and, those first couple of, the limited time that they get per week to work with coaches, during the summertime per week. I think they get like 2 hours a week or something like that they can work with coaches and stuff. Everything looks really good so far, from the receiving corps and from the tight end group. So, but yeah, to your point as well, I think what they added on the O-line, coming in as well are going to pay huge dividends, because that's been normally a strong suit for Texas Tech. Tech known, kind of in the past, I think people reference, the end of the Mike Leach era, where they had huge, just mountains of guys that were anchoring that O-line. Kind of been a rough spot for us over the past couple of years. So protection has been an issue at times. But like I said, I think that they're really excited about what they've added up front. We have a new O-line coach. And so all of that, there's a lot of optimism. There's a running joke amongst tech circles, are we going to drink the Kool-Aid again this year? And everyone's drinking it. So I think with good reason. I feel like there's a lot of good, word of mouth and a lot of good hype around this team so far. Baron Morton, he put out a tweet on Friday, actually. He's had his shoulder issues for the past 2 seasons, and he's been working with a guy named Tom Gormley down in Florida. And he has worked with guys from major league pitchers to guys that are in the NFL, like Anthony Richardson, guys like that, who've had shoulder issues, not necessarily working on mechanics, but necessarily, the way that he goes through workouts. A lot of people would say, oh, you got to bust it up AC joint, rest it, put some ice on it. And that's he's kind of takes the opposite approach to it, in terms of, we can still throw on it, but we have to manage our workload properly. Yeah. And so that's going to be a huge thing. Whereas right now, a lot of people would say, put him on the shelf until, 2 weeks before fall camp. He's throwing 15 to 20 balls on Monday, 25 to 30 balls on Wednesday, and then 30 to 40 balls on Friday. And then managing the workload on those off days, Tuesday and Thursday, a lot of therapy, stuff like that. So he posted a tweet on Friday that he threw granted without pads, but he dropped a 65-yard dime in the air to Coy Eakin, and he turned around and looked at the camera and said, "We're back." And so he's feeling good, and it's good to see he's ahead from all counts that I've seen. He's a little bit ahead of schedule in terms of getting that back. So a lot of good promise, and, a lot of good word of mouth coming, especially seeing that Tech fans, obviously ate all that up for sure.
2 guys I see that you didn't mention here is Vinny Scurry from Toledo, who is an absolute stud. I really do believe he's going to be the best, probably the best player in that O-line. Along with, I love John Carlos Miller from Elon. I think he's a sleeper.
I do too.
We almost got him. We finished second to you guys. I talked to that kid a lot leading up to that recruitment. It came down to basically Cole Taylor was here, and he may be the best returning tight end in the Big 12.
Yeah.
So so you guys got the kid. Ton of upside there.
Absolutely. He's got a couple years left. So I know Connors from Arizona State only has 1 year left. So I know that there's some fluctuation there in times left. But I was really excited. That was almost a little unexpected. In Tech circles, we definitely thought that West Virginia had the inside track on him. So when he decided to come to Tech, I think that was a little bit of a pleasant surprise for us. For sure.
Right. Especially because of where he was from and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the second part of that list, and heavy on the O-line. It's still going. Davion Carter from Memphis, Carroll from Rice, but I think, you even see a punter from Weber State on there, but is there anybody else? I think the person that sticks out to me is Cromwell from Guelph. A lot of people got high on him late.
Yeah.
He was really, really sought after over from Canada, and I'm curious to know how he's been performing. Is he there yet?
Yeah, he's here. He got here, I believe, right before spring ball started, so he's still kind of getting integrated into everything. The name, well, a couple from this list, Carter for sure that you pointed out was a big one that I had highlighted. AJ McCarty. He was at Baylor when Joey McGuire was there.
Oh yeah.
Joey McGuire was really instrumental in his recruitment to Baylor. And so he was a real big, playmaker. Unfortunately, waiver got denied, but all last season he was doing a lot of scout team stuff. So he was still in shape and everything. So he did actually get to play in the bowl game, had some special teams, some plays on special teams down there, but I would not be surprised if I saw AJ McCarty getting a lot of snaps in the defensive backfield there this season for sure.
That is interesting. So a lot of big ads. Now the offset to that is okay. So that's a ton of people to get acclimated to a football team, especially. Where do you think that process is for you guys? And do you think it's right on schedule, maybe a little bit behind? Curious to know.
I almost think it's kind of like it's like a player dependent thing, right? Some kids get acclimated a lot quicker than others do to moving around and getting acclimated to Lubbock. Lubbock's an easy place to live. It's very simple. A lot of stuff it's a very, it's a college town. The whole city revolves around Texas Tech. And so everything is close to, it's 10 minutes across town still. It's getting a lot bigger. Actually, Lubbock's one of the more booming markets in Texas, actually. But, everything is still fairly close, 10, 15 minutes from campus. So, you're very close to campus at all times. It's not like it's, they live 30 minutes from campus, whatever. It's not like that. I think in terms of getting acclimated with everything, I think this staff is one of the best that I've seen to get guys acclimated. I know that, Tech fans might cringe a little bit when they hear it, but I still think that Cliff Kingsbury was really good. He wasn't really good at the recruiting aspect necessarily, but he hated it. And he was very adamant and he was very verbal and vocal that he hated it. But once they got to campus, he was very good at getting these guys feeling right at home. And so I think Joey McGuire's doing a really good job of that. And we have a lot of guys that are on staff that are specifically involved in the recruiting process. Now, they do have their roles within the team when season starts, but we have a lot of guys that are truly primarily focused on the recruiting aspect and getting these guys acclimated. So, I would say, based on the question, I would say it's right on schedule, if not a little ahead of schedule for most of these guys. It's a little harder when these guys are coming in right at the start of spring ball and, even over summer. Got some of these guys that are coming in, miss spring ball. So, getting those guys acclimated is going to be a little bit, kind of on an accelerated time frame there. But other than that, like I said, those guys that were here in spring ball, some of these guys, a lot of these high school kids that we got chose to graduate early in December and start at Tech in January. So a lot of these kids have been on campus now for 6-7 months. So, you can't really replace that. So the more time that they have, the better, for sure.
Before we go any further, I was so flustered when we started the video, I forgot to acknowledge the channel sponsor. So we're going to do that really quick. Probably best now anyway. There's more people in here. So let's go ahead and acknowledge Magic Shine. Today's video is sponsored by Magic Shine Auto Spawn Tint in Morgantown, West Virginia. At Magic Shine, your vehicle's care is their top priority. They use only the highest quality products to ensure your car not only looks its best, but is also protected and maintained with the utmost care. From window tinting with top-of-the-line Max Pro tint to protective ceramic coatings from Diamond Protec, they've got you covered. Drive in today and experience the difference of Magic Shine Auto's Fond Tint, where your car shines like new. Shine on Morgantown. And this episode of Mountaineer Paul Talk Football brought to you by Dutch Miller Automotive. Friends and family pricing means you get the best deal right up front on any new or pre-loved vehicle in stock every time. With brands like Chevrolet, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Kia, Hyundai, Ford, GMC, Buick, and Subaru, the Dutch Miller Automotive family is always growing and ready to put you in the car or truck you've been searching for. Check out our inventory across West Virginia at DutchMillerAuto.com or just come in person today to the home of friends and family pricing. Only at a Dutch Miller Automotive store near you. Been saying that for a long time. I've got it memorized.
There you go.
It's pretty nice not to have to look down and read all that. Let's go ahead and see who's in the chat room really quick. I've got a lot of channel members involved. Yes, Timothy, I will talk about the commitments we got. Hey, Shaggy. Hey, Timothy. Hey, Glenn. Hey, Luke. Hey, Tyler. What's up, man? Drew Allen is the goat. What are you doing in here, man? Going to be having my boy right here at Penn State _Michigan. Oh, never mind. That's a different guy. I thought that was Penn State Strong. That's Penn State _Michigan. Don't know him as much. Jacob Yoho. A lot of channel members in here today. Mr. Barfarkle, thank you for being in here. Tyler Cobb, Jada K. A lot of people in here. Pokemon Kid Entertainment. Appreciate you guys for joining. And go follow Jack, man. He's a really great Texas Tech follow. If you're like me, I follow at least one account or two accounts from every Big 12 team. Like to stay updated. Sometimes I get jealous. You never know what's going to pop up. Like when John Carlos Miller went to Texas Tech, I was jealous. I was jelly. So, but generally speaking, though, I like to keep an eye on what's going on so that I can compare and contrast. And it means nothing, but I still do it. So, I guess right now it's probably a decent enough time to talk about West Virginia's commitments really quick. So West Virginia's had a couple commitments here the last couple of days, and it's been a pretty big 2025 class for Neil Brown and company. They've done a really good job in the portal. If you look at it, especially today, I think a lot of people were really excited about Ramondo Johnson, who is a 6'4", 240-pound kid. He had Florida, Penn State, Tennessee, A&M, Wisconsin, Pittsburgh, Mississippi State, Cincinnati, Boston College, Syracuse, Purdue, and Rutgers. A 4-star player, 3-star on Rivals, and this is a 6'4", 240-pound strong side defensive end. I watched a lot of tape on him today. He's a project, guys. Certainly a lot of upside there, which is why you see Florida and all the teams involved. He basically has he really doesn't have a speed to power game yet, so he's got a really nice rip that he does, and he's got a lot of hit bend, which allows him to get around offensive tackles and get to the quarterback. And then off that, he's got a club that he will do. Other than that, off the hours change of tape that I saw the kid, he's going to develop a lot of pass rushing moves with defensive lineman A.J. Jackson. But like I said, from what I saw, he's just more athletically gifted than the guy in front of him. And in my opinion, is the reason he was so highly sought after, because you can work with pass rush moves. You really can't. If you've got a guy that's not athletic at that spot, then you're kind of in trouble. But this guy is that at 6'4", 240. He's probably going to put on 20 or 30 pounds into that 260, 270 range. So he's going to be what you consider a edge setter, in my opinion. He's going to be a guy that can get after the quarterback. But he's more of an edge setting defensive outside linebacker. So he's going to be a big pickup for us. And then the kid Schillings, the defensive back from yesterday, was really committed. I was really impressed with his tape as well. Really, really fluid hips, really, really good ball skills, and really loves to read the eyes of the quarterback. In the Big 12, that will get you caught sleeping a little bit here and there. But love both guys. I think they're both really, really great commits for West Virginia. Don't want to get out on it too long. I was going to do an episode just for those, but because this is our Texas Tech West Virginia preview, that's what Jack's here for. But yeah, really, really, really nice pickups for us, and they're really doing well. The 25 class so far with double digits, so that's what you want to see. Also, Texas Tech had some commits today as well, 4 or 5 hours ago. Is that pretty big deal, or were they just average?
We had a 4-star wide receiver out of Frisco, Bryson Jones. He recruited to Tech, or he committed to Tech today. Again, out of Frisco, he had offers from Texas A&M, Arkansas, and Oklahoma State as well, just to name a few. Chose Texas Tech. We also had a 3-star DB from Lago Vista commit to Tech. He'd had a couple of offers, I believe, mostly in Texas. I believe Baylor and TCU were on his trail as well. Tech was actually the first school that offered him back at the end of his sophomore year, and he's committed today to Tech as well. So, we're still steady on the pickups there. We're still kind of trugging along there.
And one correction, guys. I said Shillings. It's Sessions from earlier. I just thought of it in my head. So I said the wrong last name, Elgin Sessions. So my bad about that. Trying to think of too many things at once. But like I said, he was a good pickup as well. I really love the Johnson pickup today. I wrote an article on it. If you want to see it on WestVirginiaInsiders.com, feel free to do so. Which is also, I don't have my computer, so I can't screen share right now. But what I can do is show you this. This is a Garrett Green signed mini helmet. A lot of people would like to have this, not just West Virginia fans. If you want to be involved with the drawing we're doing for this, you go to WestVirginiaInsiders.com. Click on Mountaineer Paul Talks Football. Hit the subscribe button. Click on the subscribe button on Hoops from the Hills. It's all you got access on the website right there. All you got to do is it'll have each individual tab for each one of those. And then go to the forum, and you'll like this, Jack. We have a giveaway on the forum, and you have to write "Eat Shit Pit" on the forum, and that's how you enter yourself into the contest.
Hey, there you go. Sounds like a plan to me.
Yeah. So I imagine if TCU or Baylor or one of those two was involved, you guys would have something really nice to say about that.
Always.
So, who do you consider to be Tech's biggest rival? I mean,
well, now that Texas is gone,
yeah,
you would look at in-state. I mean, TCU. I actually think, unfortunately, the one thing about all this Big 12 restructuring, right? You don't play everyone every year.
right.
So we don't play Oklahoma State this year. And typically, good for I'm not complaining, but I always like playing Oklahoma State. I think that there are good testers because typically that comes later in the year for us. Kind of shows what kind of team we got. But I like the thought of battling out with Oklahoma State and TCU. The Baylor, more or less, it used to be a big deal. It's kind of fading now with the state of their program, and hopefully, they get back to where they're competitive.
We need them to be the conference.
Absolutely, 100%. And like exactly, you hit the nail on the head. I think the more teams you can have them to be competitive in the conference, the better. So, I really do. I think Baylor and TCU and Oklahoma State, those teams are going to be, the main teams that are kind of basically in our reach to focus on now.
Yeah, I agree. So Vegas is high on you guys. 8.5 is where it's set. That's pretty impressive. And I'll tell you what bothers me about it is not that you guys are set at 8.5, because West Virginia's not. West Virginia's at 6.5. It's because of the schedule, really.
Well, yeah,
We have the toughest schedule in the conference, probably, or at least one of the top two. Penn State out the gate is the toughest non-conference schedule game of the year for, I think, anybody in the Big 12.
I wouldn't doubt that.
Is there a tougher one? Maybe Iowa for Iowa State.
Yeah, if you
Florida.
want.
I think Arkansas and Florida are for UCF. Arkansas is on there. Yeah, Penn State's way better than all those teams.
Yeah, 100%.
So obviously, we're going to know a lot about West Virginia early, but I'm curious to know, and this is how I break it down to people. If they ask me about West Virginia, this is the team that won 9 games, probably should have won 11, at least 10, right? You lose on a Hail Mary to Houston, in which Garrett Green throws his helmet and gets the 15 yards, which really hurt us bad. Put them 15 yards closer. And then Oklahoma State, you lose in the fourth quarter of a game that you're leading in. So a lot of us feel like we were really close to 11 wins last year, and we returned everything, especially on offense, on a team that rushed for 3,000 yards, led the nation. But you lose the best center in the country, or at least the second best. Some people think Powers from Oregon was the best, and I can concede he was really good. But as a pure center, I feel like Frazier was. And then obviously defensively, they returned everybody from front 7 in. Retooled in the back end with almost 10 defensive backs brought in through the portal. They really, and a lot of, 3 or 4 of those were Power 5 from Northwestern off an 8-5 team that was really salty. Just curious what your outside perspective looking in is on the team. Garrett Green, 14 touchdown. We had 14 touchdowns on the ground, 24 through the air. Almost 1,000 yards on the ground, which is a top 10 season ever for a rushing quarterback. Overall perspective on the Mountaineers.
I think that when you look at the West Virginia team, it's never a team you like to play, because you know that it's going to be a gritty, just knockout, drag out fight. And I believe me, when I saw that we were slated for the last game of the year, the main thing that, I was just glad that it was in Lubbock, because when it's in Morgantown, it's a whole nother game. And I mean, and you could take that from the game last year. I mean, raining, terrible weather, just an ugly game, especially on our side. I mean, we just played terribly. That was kind of after the wheels had already fallen off for Tech, so to speak. And I think that was kind of the last nail in the coffin, as opposed to any anything above, just a low level bowl game. I think that loss at West Virginia last year really kind of took an emotional toll, I'll say. And so looking in at the program, I mean, it's I would say impressive, just the turnaround, because it wasn't a year or 2 years ago where you and I were talking and we were saying, what's the upside? What was the upside to this? We were talking about it on here, and we were saying, there's not a whole lot of upside. But man, how quick things change, right? So it's really nice. Like I said, anytime that teams are competitive in the conference, you welcome that. You want the conference to succeed. And so you want your games that you win in conference to mean something. And so when you see a team that returns 7 in, coming on the D side, and then return pretty much, I mean, like you said, almost everyone on the offensive side, the lights are there, and now you wanted the attention, you got it. I mean, not necessarily telling people in here to go bet, do your own thing, but I feel like over 6.5 for West Virginia is the easiest lock that I could come up with out of the Big 12 in terms of preseason odds in Vegas, for sure.
Have you looked at our schedule yet? Outside of Penn State, have you actually looked at it?
I haven't.
Listen, let me just read it to you really quick. This is why it's at 6.5. Because every time I hear it, I'm like, how are we at 6.5? Then I'm looking at the schedule. Hold on just 1 second. Let me read this to you. Sorry, I can't show it to you guys. I'll get my issues fixed and have my laptop ready next time. So, okay. All right, here we go, Jack. Penn State, which is at home, which is,
Okay.
at least that's at home. Then you got Albany, which is a day off. Then you get the backyard brawl,
Okay.
West Virginia versus Pitt at Pitt. Kansas comes to West Virginia on the road at Oklahoma State, followed by at home Iowa State, followed by Kansas State at West Virginia. Then we go to Arizona. Finally, we get a week off. I mean, hopefully a week off with Cincinnati, and then Baylor, then UCF, then you guys are last. But that slate from
Yeah, that's what is that, October, like early October to the early part of November?
Oh yeah, Pitt, Kansas, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, Kansas State, Arizona. All in a row.
Yeah, that's a rough stretch for sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know how we make it out of that without losing a couple games. I mean, I don't want to be pessimistic here. I think Pittsburgh's going to be pretty bad this year, but you never know. Narduzzi's one of those kind of coaches that he's such a good defensive coach. They could be really salty, and the game could be really close. It's the backyard brawl, and there aren't many rivalries like it left. So that game, I mean, there are people that said that were better than Steelers games when we were there a couple years ago. And I'll be telling you, it was rocking. Then Kansas could be a title contender this year, right? I mean, I would just put them a notch ahead, both of us right now, for sure.
100%.
Because Leopold's done what he's done. Gundy's got so many guns coming back. Thankfully, in my opinion, Alan Bowman is the thing that holds them back, even though he's a good quarterback. If they had an elite guy sitting back there, I'd be scared to death of them with Ollie Moore. Hopefully, they don't have some kind of mobile quarterback that we all don't know about that can run that read option with him, because that's scary. Iowa State's another team that's in the same boat as us. They Texas Tech and West Virginia, that they got a lot coming back. Of a team that won, I think, 7 or 8 games, and they really feel good about Rocco Beck, and with good reason. And then Kansas State might be the best team in the league.
Right.
And if Arizona had its coach from last year, they might be the best team in the league.
Right.
And if they didn't have that guy paid for everybody, they had, I don't remember which donor it was, but he took them to the basketball game basically and got Fafita and their best receiver and running back just to return somehow, which was shot. I couldn't, believe they actually kept those guys, but they did. So can't look past Penn State in week 1. I think if we beat Penn State, I look at the rest of that schedule and I feel like we can win any of those games, no doubt. Even if we lose the game, I'll still feel pretty good. But Penn State, obviously, the key game to the West Virginia season. Can't afford to lose it almost in a sense when you look at it like that.
Yeah.
That schedule, the way the schedule lines up.
For sure.
I dropped my phone. What's the Texas Tech schedule look like?
So Tech opens up, got a relatively, easy non-con this year. They got away from the Oregon game. They got out of the Oregon contract, and we were slated to go to Autzen Stadium this year. But we're not doing that anymore. We're actually going to Pullman and playing Washington State instead.
Wow.
We start at home against Abilene Christian. Then we're on the road at Washington State, at home against North Texas, opening conference game at home against Arizona State. Then we have Cincinnati at home.
Wow.
Week after that, we go on the road to Tucson to play Arizona. Then
there's your first tough week.
Yeah. Then a week off. After that, or bye week, I should say. After that, at home against Baylor. And then we kind of get into the meat and potatoes after that. On the road at TCU, on the road at Iowa State, back home against Colorado. Then after Colorado, we go to we do play Oklahoma State this year. My apologies, Cowboy fans. I know they're going to rip me for that. On the road at Stillwater, and then finish off against West Virginia. Yeah, I totally overlooked that.
So much easier than our schedule.
Yeah. I hate playing in Stillwater, but it is what it is. But
it's 60,000.
Yeah. We'll find out right around that tail end of October, when you go last week of October at TCU, first week of November at Iowa State, that's when you're kind of going to see what this team's about. Then you come back home to play Colorado, and then you go to Stillwater, and then at home against West Virginia. I think it's a very easy front load of the schedule for sure. In all reality, you should come out of those first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. You should be 5-0 going into that game at Arizona. So we'll see, but I thought we were gonna, last year first game for Tech gives people nightmares when you talk about that Wyoming game. It was just
what a weird game.
Oh, it was. I couldn't believe it when I was watching. You jump out 14-0 in the first 2 possessions, and you say, "Well, here we go." And then everything just falls apart. We just stopped playing offense. We just couldn't do anything after that, and we thought we could just sit on a 14-point lead. And obviously, you saw what happened. You lose in overtime. But like I said, realistically, in Tech circles, you're expecting to be 5-0 going into that game in Tucson against Arizona. Depending on, like I said, you hit it. They got those 2 guys to come back and return. So, even with new coach, you'll see what they have early and just kind of see how they're playing. But I think that could be a big game for Tech season. And, if for some reason Tech could go out there and, maybe pull one off on the road, you start the season 6-0, and there's definitely some room there to rip off a couple more games here and there. I think for Tech, the main thing that caught us last year was getting off on such a rocky start. You lose to Wyoming, you lose a heartbreaker of a game at home to Oregon when you were in it the whole game. Really, you take away Tyler Shuck's 3 or 4 or 5 turnovers that he had on his own. You're in that game, and you could make the argument that Tech walks away with that game, 14 points in hand easily. So, that Oregon team was a really good team, but they were beatable at that point in the year. I don't think they had really gotten all their stuff together yet by the time, obviously, they made their run and, went to, their
by the end of the year.
By the end of the year, there was no one that was going to touch them. But I think that was a game that Tech could have easily won. But, you had your turnovers, and it is what it is. But I think that this year, the main thing is going to be winning those first 3 games, get through the non-conference unscathed, and then, start out with a nice game at home against Arizona State. Then you got Cincinnati at home after that. Get your bearings, and then really settle in for what I call the meat and potatoes of the schedule coming on after that.
Yeah, agreed. So one thing's for sure is we're going to know the answer to said questions by the time we play each other.
Absolutely.
We'll know who's good, who's bad, who's had a season on it. Who knows? It could have Big 12 implications. Wouldn't that be cool?
Absolutely. Oh, man.
Here's what I hope for now. I hope we go into that game that no matter who wins, we got to play each other again in 2 weeks or whatever.
Hey, I could be down for that. I'm telling you this. I was thinking about this. If you would have told me 2 years ago that we would be playing in the last game of the year this year, and possibly the winner could be going to the Big 12 Conference Championship, I would have called you crazy. I'll be honest with you. But at the same time, we're here, and like I said, Tech's got a lot of upside. There are some holes that need to be filled, especially on the D line for Tech. That's really going to be a main sticky point. Lost 2 main guys up front in Bradford and Hutchings, and so
thank God that guy's gone.
Yeah, they're finally gone. We used all of their eligibility, so it's going to be something that I'm really interested to see how that D line performs. Mostly, and like you said, I expect West Virginia to be not necessarily run heavy again, but talented on the run game, right? So definitely something that Tech is going to need to bolster up that front line for sure. Linebackers to me aren't really an issue. Tech's returning a lot of good linebackers. Our top 3 linebackers are all returning. They got a lot of experience, even though one of them is a sophomore. Our sophomore Ben Roberts, he led the team in tackles last year as a true freshman. So he was kind of thrown into a crappy situation when Jacob Rodriguez got hurt in that Wyoming game, who was supposed to be our main linebacker. He's back fully healthy. Still have Ben Roberts, still have Bryce Ramirez. So it's a solid linebacking core. A lot of plug and play guys in that defensive backfield as well. Got a lot of interchangeable guys. But for me, the key for Tech on defense this year is definitely going to be that D line, just to see if they can get it bolstered up, because it's going to be something that you figure out early if it's going to be a problem. And it's no secret that everyone watches film. So if you could see that a team is weak on the D line, I mean, if you're waiting until 5-6 yards down the field to make first point of contact, I mean, you're in for a long day.
Yeah, and you don't have a Hutchings this year, I would imagine.
Yeah. No,
you don't have a Zach Frazier either, who really got the better Hutchings last year. But I'll tell you who I'm excited to see in our game. It's probably going to be Taj Brooks. I wonder if he'll be healthy by that last game, and if he is, what his season total is going to look like. Because that dude is so good.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? We've talked about all this, and I haven't even talked about Taj Brooks once, which is wild, because Taj Brooks, I mean, I don't even have to say anything about it. I mean, he's just fantastic, and he's gonna run you over, and he could beat you with speed too. So, you said, it's gonna be a great game for sure.
Think about the Big 12 as a running back league right now. Ollie Gordon at the top of that list. After Ollie Gordon, you go probably nationally outside looking in. You probably Neal from Kansas is probably the next best, according to what others think, not what I think. And then you get into like the C.J. Harvey, Taj Brooks, Jaheim White, who I personally think, I really do think Jaheim White can solidify himself as the second best back in the league. But I'm a homer, But
unapologetic,
unapologetically, a homer. But when you look at what Jaheim White did last year, he didn't even play against the game against you guys. He didn't play for a couple more games after that. Almost rushed for 1,000 yards, an average 7 yards a carry for a season.
Yeah.
Freshman All-American. We're really excited about him. You guys got C.J. Donaldson, I believe, who was our big back, and in his own right could be an all-conference type player. So we love that 1-2 punch. But that'll be a fun matchup between Jaheim White and Taj Brooks, Garrett Green and Barrett Morton, although it can't be two different quarterbacks. The way Garrett gets things done, the way Barrett gets things done are two totally different things. Let me address this from Mad Dog really quick. If you're still here, Mad Dog, they did not pick me back up, but what I had forgotten what I was told when I first started getting sponsorships was to ask to be paid a month in advance. And so I didn't know any better. So that's what was going on. And so the last time they paid me was technically for the month ahead. So I quit for a couple of days because I just got confused. But as a man of my word, I have to continue this out through the end of this month. So they did not pick me back up. I wish they did, but it's all good. No hard feelings. Just wish they would have let me know they were releasing me. But I appreciate you were trying to be happy for me there. And I've still got Magic Shine, who was obviously the best of the best. So we're good with that. But thank you for the kind comment. Don't forget to like the video, guys. As always, we always do a like. Subscribe to the channel and drop a comment below if you're watching this after the fact. This has been a fun conversation with Jack about Texas Tech and it's the fall camps coming up, so we really don't have the whole picture yet, do we? We still don't know. There's still some players that can stand out for both teams. Curious to know what you think. So are you going over, under, or just right on that 8.5 for Texas Tech?
It's hard for me to go over just because I've been burned in the past, right? It's hard because
it feels like just right, doesn't it?
Yeah, it feels just right. And to me, I think the main thing, especially around in tech circles right now, is just the fact that there's been so much hype around this program for ever since Joey McGuire got here. And people are kind of like,
Year
okay,
3.
and it's kind of like, okay,
Although I can
well,
point to Neil Brown and
yeah,
say, hold on there.
yeah, we've had the hype, and it's one of those things where like, okay, we like the hype, but we're ready to be over 6-6 going into bowl games. So it's time. It's time to make that. It's time to make that step up. And this year, like the schedule's favorable for us, especially with the front loaded, easier schedule. And then getting into the more solid games at the back end. There's, like I said, we're really looking forward, or really trying to get into that 5-0 spot going into Tucson. And I think if you're there, then you start saying, okay, like, what are the odds that you go 1-6 to finish? I mean, I've seen it happen, but I saw it. I saw the Cliff Kingsbury. I was at school during the Cliff Kingsbury era, so that's something that I witnessed firsthand. And that first year, I'll never forget just the letdown from that. You start out 7-0, you're ranked 13th in the country, and then you lose the last 5. And it's just the bottom falls out. But at this point,
style,
yeah,
man, in my opinion, that style of offense just doesn't win games long term.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that you had a defense that would give up 50 points a game, that you
that
can't.
Was old school. That's the narrative. We literally just shed that narrative, like the last 1 or 2 years of the Big 12. Even though we've been playing defense in the Big 12 going back probably 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah, I would say 5 at least. But
it started probably with Iowa State, the 3-3-5 they brought back, and Baylor started doing it a little bit. Obviously, and other teams picked it up. But I mean, overall, every team is Kansas State was the other one.
Yeah.
It's a completely different league now. Now it's RPO, more run heavy. You still got teams like UCF. They're going to want to go a little bit, but it's more pick your shot with it rather than this is our philosophy.
Right.
And I like that. Neil Brown, we won time of possession in almost every game last year, the ones that we won. So, and we ran, like I said, we led the nation. We led the nation in Division I, Power 5. So there were 13 teams ahead of us that were not Power 5. But as far as Power 5 goes, we led the country in rushing yards. So, clock management, it was like whenever every season's got to be a running joke, because every single game preview, I said we have to control the clock, because it was just such an important factor for us last year. And I think it will be again this year. I really do. I do think that was a good. I don't know what happened with Neil last year, but he jumped in his own foxhole with himself and said, I got this. And man, he did everything he could to get us 10 wins last year. And that's the thing about double-digit wins. You got to have some luck to get there, or you got to be just really good.
100%.
So one of the two. And I don't think either of our teams are good enough not to get there without a little bit of luck.
Right.
So the schedule, I think, lines up so well for you guys, and it'll be interesting to see where you guys are at come Arizona. With your all's luck, Abilene Christian will be like North Dakota State or something next year. And
they'll get. I mean, I'm telling you,
Cincinnati will be like the one that was in the playoff a few years ago.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things now where it's almost, that's the thing, it's almost expected. So I think truly, like, if we got to that Arizona game and we were 5-0, I don't think we would know what to do, like as a fan base, just because we're like, wait, did we not lose one of these early games? But like I said, it's just one of those things where you're excited for it for sure, and there's a lot of potential, especially, on the offensive side. And I like what you said about, getting more to the RPO as a conference. I think it's one of those things where time and possession is starting to play a lot bigger role. You can't sit there, like you mentioned, and like, we were talking about earlier, the Mike Leach era, right? Where Tech would score in 30 seconds and then go sit on the bench. Like, that's not a thing anymore. It's not really one of those things where you could sit there and go for 30 seconds, because then you're just going to wear your defense out as well. So you kind of have to take both things into account, because I think that's where Tech did get themselves in a lot of trouble last year. Not necessarily even scoring, but a lot of the times our defense would be out on the field for a long stretch. Other team would have all the momentum. Then our offense would go in there, maybe get 1 first down and then punt or go 3 and out. And then your defense that was just on the field for 6 or 7 minutes is right back out on the field. And it's just you're asking for a disaster. And so I think that's a lot of the problems that Tech saw on the defensive side. It was just I wouldn't say conditioning necessarily, but I would say that being out on the field for 75% of the game as a defense, it's not going to win you a lot of games. So, I mean, that's just the way it is.
Yeah, you got to get into that top 50 range. You really do be a top 50 defense to win games, in my opinion. If you're talking about a real winning season, 9 or better. Although it happens without that, I mean, but you do need to be in that range, 50 to 60. Mad Dog, I'm not sure what you're talking about, what website you're talking about here, or I haven't seen West Virginia be ranked last in the Big 12 preseason rankings this year. Now, listen, there's a ton of magazines coming out right now, Field Steel, Athlon. I mean, there's a bunch. So it could very well have happened, and I missed it, which would be a great video for me. So if there is one out there that rated us last, let me know right now, because I'll do a video on that sucker tomorrow. That's the kind of content I look for. That's like easy money right there. You know what I mean? Oh, bottom half. Okay, that makes more sense. Bottom half of the Big 12. Well, now consider this, that they're factoring on our brutal schedule, which is probably the hardest in the league. It's not so much to knock on the team. It's just that when you look at us head to head against Penn State, you have to favor Penn State just naturally, right? They're a top 15 team, if not 10. And then Abilene Christian, or not Abilene Christian, but Albany. And then who knows how the backyard brawl goes? Who knows? But I mean, yet I favor us there. And then you really get into that stretch with Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Arizona, and Iowa State. Can you say that we would be favored in any of those games? Maybe Iowa State, maybe. But the other 3 would be favored the other direction, So that's why. I mean, right there, you look at that, that's potentially 4 losses. And on paper, should be 4. I don't feel that way. I think we're going to figure out a way to win a couple of those, and get to like 10, 9 to 10. I think we'll be in that range. I do, like last year. But we'll have to have a couple of things go our way. And if you're at double-digit wins, you're going to be in the conference championship picture, and that's really all you can ask for, unless there's a team that just 2 teams that go win 11 games this year. But to answer your question, I think there's just so many toss-up games for us that you just can't unequivocally say we're going to win, and that includes Texas Tech. Although, I mean, by the numbers, Vegas. Now, this could be because of schedule rather than team, but Tech has a higher win total projection than us. Were we to play them based on last year, I would have to say I would favor us. Just heads up, first game of the year, I would favor us, but it would be like 3 points. At Texas Tech, it's the coin toss. So, I mean, you're really splitting hairs with it a little bit, in my opinion. But I've got a lot of faith in the Mountaineers. I really do. I think returning what we return at the positions we return them at, we've got the best left tackle in, which we didn't even talk about that yet. Wyatt Milum hasn't allowed a sack in 2 years, and he returns as a projected first-round NFL draft pick at left tackle. Anytime you got that, protecting your quarterback's blind side, you're in a good spot. And then you've got an all-conference former freshman All-American at left guard, and you've got 3 other offensive linemen that have started 30 or more games coming back to play this year, even though Zach Frazier's gone. So there are people that think our offensive line will be more athletic, but as good or close to as good as last year. And if we can do that, then it's all in our wide receiving core, which returns 5 of the 6 top guys. So there's a lot to like there. It's just we have to see what it looks like. Jack, anything else you want to say as far as on the Red Raiders? If not, I can send people over to where we'll let you plug all your stuff.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I would add, I think that I don't necessarily know that I wouldn't say that it's going untalked about. I know I already mentioned it. But I think the wide receiving core for Tech is going to be a huge surprise last year after a very underwhelming season last year. The wide receivers, a lot of drops, uncharacteristic drops, a lot of bad routes, a lot of lazy routes, a lot of giving up on routes. A lot of those guys that did that are gone and transferred out. No harm, no foul. Wherever they're at, that's where they're at. I think that this receiving core, you talk about a guy like Micah Hudson. I mean, you're talking about a guy who is the number 3 national recruit in the country for wide receivers. Coming to Tech, finished last year in high school. I believe he had over, I think he had about almost 2,000 yards in the air. This is a guy that had offers from Alabama, Georgia, Michigan, Texas A&M, Ohio State, Oklahoma.
Be the 3rd wide receiver.
Yeah. He's a freshman, true freshman out of high school.
We got a guy like that as well. We're excited about.
Yeah, and so, like I said, it's a guy that it's the highest rated recruit Tech's ever had. And so,
we don't have one that good.
Yeah, and so like
we
better
got a
than
4-star guy we're excited about. 2
better, higher recruited than Michael Crabtree was. So
we'll see if he'll be. I don't know how he can be better than that. But
we'll see. But like I said, when you got guys that are coming to Tech that have offers from places like that, it's definitely something to keep your eyes.
But I thought it was the power 2, Jack. I thought it was power 2. We can't get anybody anymore in our conference.
We can't. Haven't you heard?
We're screwed.
Yeah, absolutely. We're the redheaded stepchilds of conferences. No one wants to come play, and no one wants to come play Big 12.
No, I mean nobody's going to Colorado right now or West Virginia. You just see me read off a guy that had 35 offers from Florida and everywhere else that went to West Virginia.
Exactly. So that's the thing, right? Like so. You have guys transferring in too. I mean, y'all guys hit the portal from other places, like from the SEC and the Big Ten. So I mean, and we got a guy from Florida, wide receivers. So and we had a couple of guys, or we had Josiah Pierre, who's gone now, but Josiah Pierre, he was from Florida. So I mean, it was it's something that I think is a huge misconception that this conference can't put up decent 2 teams. I don't see why this conference, especially this year, with what we've talked about, even the new additions. I don't see why we can't put at least 2 teams in New Year's 6 bowls. Possibly even throwing one towards the playoff. And I think that there's just so much talent this year, and I think you could probably agree with me on this. This is probably one of the more top-heavy Big 12 conferences as a whole that we've seen. Not even talking about the new additions. I mean, you talk about the new additions, that just adds another layer to it. But I'm talking about just teams that have been here. I mean, some of the more talented teams in the Big 12 for football this year that we've seen in quite some time.
I agree. And I mean, when you look at the quarterbacks that are returning this year, that's another thing. Obviously, Baron Morton, although he isn't what I would consider a headliner this year, has a chance to. He's got the arm talent as long as the shoulder is good.
Yeah.
And the protection's there because he's not the most mobile guy. He's not immobile. He can move, but he's not Garrett Green,
Right.
But obviously, Shadur and Jalen and the kid from Utah are going to get all the hype. We get it. But there are some people that feel like Garrett Green could really be the best quarterback in the league this year. Pro Football Focus has him rated as number 1. Like there are players in the Big 12 that were highly sought after and attempted to be tampered with.
Yeah.
West Virginia had Alabama come calling last year to get Zach Frazier, offered him a lot of money. But, the Big 12 is not dead yet. That's all I'm saying. Now, there may come a time where that happens, and if it does, we'll go cross that bridge when we get there. It ain't this year. There's a ton of talent. There's going to be a lot of first-round NFL draft picks coming out of the Big 12 this year. Just go ahead and book that right now. And find me a better running back conference in America. I want to find me one. Everywhere you look, there is elite running backs in the Big 12 this year. And I know they're a dime a dozen as far as NFL draft gurus are concerned, but man, Taj Brooks in any other year would be the best back in the conference. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's probably two or three guys ahead of him.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're talking about a guy coming back off of a 1,500 plus yard season on the ground. So,
Yeah.
and I mean, and the fact that on less than 300 carries, no less. So you're talking about a guy that's averaging over 5.5, almost 6 yards a touch, or a carry, I should say. But like when
He
you
was
got
tough
guys,
last year.
when you got guys coming back like that, and they're still not mentioned in the top three, I mean, that speaks for itself.
Kind of reminds me when we had Bryce Hall and Deuce at Kansas
Yeah.
State at the same time, and
Yeah.
then there was a bunch of other there's another one, the Kansas State kid. What's his name? Starts with a D. The big number 31. He ran for like 15 yards last year as well.
Yeah, he ran like for 300 against Tech. So
Yeah.
I try to forget.
He's another one, man. Kansas State's going to be really good.
Yeah.
I don't know how Avery Johnson's going to look, but man, they're a scary, scary team for me this year. And Kleiman's just got it down there. Now I don't know how they're going to look. They lost Colin Klein, thankfully. But, I mean, just generally speaking, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Utah are my top three at the moment. I think we can't really go away from that.
I'm very thankful that there's no Kansas State on my schedule. There's no Utah on my schedule. And I'm really thankful for that. But like I said, I'm really excited about our game, and I'm actually really loving the game slot of it being the last game of the year. I'm actually like really interested in that because typically we're in like the middle of October, area right in there when we
last year we were the fourth game. Yeah,
or like early. So like we kind of get together kind of earlier typically. But having it the last game of the year, I think that game, I like what you said earlier. I think that this game, when we play each other at the end of November,
could have some ramifications.
Absolutely. And I think that that's going to be one of the more, I mean, you could, obviously they don't have times released yet for any conference games. But I think, you could see if everything goes right for both of our sides, I don't see why you don't see that on a primetime game. It could be a primetime slot, especially if it has conference title ramifications. I think you could see that, finding a primetime slot.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. There's only one thing. What's a crazy stat? We have played a backup quarterback against you guys 4 years in a row. 4 years in a row, West Virginia versus Texas Tech. We've seen your backup. If you count all those Shuckers your starter going into the game, he got hurt against us. Right. So that made it 4 years in a row. Jet, what was his name?
Jet Duffy. Jet Duffy.
That was, we had him 2 years in a row.
Yeah. The last quarterback to play at Texas Tech that started the first game and started, all 12 games in the regular season was Patrick Mahomes. And so we have not had a quarterback since Patrick Mahomes, who has been in the NFL, who has won 2 Super Bowls, three NFL MVPs now.
I'm sure you're counting.
We haven't had anyone since him play all 12 games as a starting quarterback. And it's like a little, it's like the curse. We just can't seem to find, the luck. I don't want to say luck because it's not necessarily luck, but at times it is, to get your quarterback through all 12
It's definitely
games.
bad luck for you guys. I mean,
Yeah.
look, we haven't made it through all 12, but with Garrett either. But you know, he played like I think he played 10 games. That's another thing about Garrett Green. He had sorry, he had 14 rushing touchdowns and almost 1,000 yards rushing, and he missed 2 games last year.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. 2 other games. He could pop off and score 3 or 4 in one of those games. He'd have been close to 20.
Yeah.
So I really, gosh, I feel it's hard to say what he'll do this year if he stays healthy. He's just so little. That's the thing you worry about. But thankfully, we've got Nico, who played against you guys last year.
Mm-hmm.
Although that was such a raining game for a kid that was a redshirt freshman.
Yeah.
But Jack, let everybody know where they can find you at, man. I've got your thing, Jack Bell Sports, at the bottom here, but in the description, I also put the cotton thing that you got and one of the other things.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got to pull my Twitter up because I can never get the handle right for it. So don't tell the guys. It's at Cotton CC _ FFSN. We're a part of the Fan First Sports Network. What it is, we used to be Viva the Matadors writing for Vox.
That's it. Yeah.
And we and Vox, is cutting all their college, all their college stuff, in waves. And when we got cut, we went over to Fans First and had to do the name change. But we do pods once a week over there, at least during the off season. During when football season starts ramping up, you'll start seeing 2 to 3 a week from us. Like I said, give me a follow.
Full-time job?
Huh?
Full-time job or?
Oh no, on the side, man, on the side. But I do it because I love it. Went to school at Tech, graduated from Tech, and so that's just something that Tech is. I think my first Texas Tech football game I went to, I was about 6 months old, so 7 months old maybe. So it's something that I've been going to Tech games as long as I can remember. There's a stretch when I was growing up that I didn't miss a Tech game for about 12 years at home.
Wow.
So, then you grow up and then you're playing you're doing your own sports and stuff like that. And that takes time, but, went to school there, loved it. And so, but yeah, we do a pod twice a week, during season. We cover basketball pretty heavy as well. Baseball this year for Tech was kind of a forgettable one, not for West Virginia though. West Virginia coming off a great baseball season. Other than that, we do put out the pods, but that's it's the Cotton Club crew. It's at Cotton CC _ FFSN for the site coverage. We do articles, stuff like that, pods. My Twitter handle at Jack Bell Sports. Shoot me a follow. We're covering all Tech stuff. So let's see if we can get this question. Have I ever been to Morgantown for a game? No, I have not. My fiance has. My fiance used to live in Washington, D.C., and, she did get down to Morgantown for a game. But no, I would love to come up. Like I said, I've only heard good things about it. So, like I said, I know that, it's a pretty tough place to play.
It's very similar to Rice Eccles, Utah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, I would love to get out to Morgantown for a game. I'd obviously have to be, come up with and hang out with Paul while I'm up there, just because I need some cover just in case, because I'm probably be wearing some Tech stuff. But but like I said, and if anyone watching this or anyone gets a chance to come down to Lubbock for that game in November, shoot me a DM. On Twitter. Like I said, would love to show you a good time, some hospitality down there. We'll probably be there for that game. So like I said, I live in Dallas now, so it is a bit of a drive for me to get over to Lubbock. It's about a 5-hour drive. But I do still have season tickets over there, so I make them for as many as I can. And
living in such a big city, man. I could not imagine.
It's a lot different. I'm originally from Midland, Texas, which is out in the oil field. Yeah, exactly. So, living in Dallas now, it's a little different, but, I love Lubbock, and I get back there as much as I can. So, it's a great place. Like I said, if anyone is coming down for the West Virginia game, give me a shout. love to show you some hospitality down here, and we'll have you a fun time. Show you around the city. It's not big. We'll keep you around Tech. So,
Well, we're talking about Morgantown here.
well, yeah, I know, but just throwing in a little no free ads type thing. But yeah, no, I'd love to get up to Morgantown for a game, like you said.
No. I said you were talking about Lubbock's not big. Morgantown's not big either.
No, yeah, and like I said, that's why I feel like they're pretty similar places.
Yeah,
So
they
yeah,
are.
like I said, I'd love to make it up for one of those, and I just like to take in the atmosphere of a game up there. I feel like it'd be pretty cool. So yeah,
It is cool.
putting it on the bucket list for sure. Like I said, I'd love eventually to make it to. Well, now I was talking about making it to all of the Big 12 stadiums, but now I'd been to one in Oklahoma, I'd been to one at Texas. Still haven't been to Stillwater. Don't know if that's really on
The
my
bounce
list.
house sounds fun too.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, and so I'd like to go to any of those places and just take in a game. I wanted to go to the BYU game last year just because I know that the area is so beautiful out there. So the BYU Utah stadiums really, are an interesting one to me. I'd like to get out there, but yeah, I would definitely not rule out Morgantown for sure. I would love it. I'm sure I'd love it because I love Lubbock. So if it's a similar place, I'm sure I would have a great time.
Now that Oklahoma's out of the conference, because that was best in show as far as probably home field advantage, it'd be interesting to see who that goes to because you got a lot of stadiums that are very similar now, right around that 60,000 mark.
Yeah.
But, West Virginia's been ranked in the top 25 as far as toughness of play, whatever you want to say, to play at for a long time. But, I just don't know. I mean, you look at what Oklahoma State does; they're at 60,000. I think you guys are just under. You guys are 50.
We are just at 59.
59.
And we just closed in this offseason right now. We're closing in our south end zone. So it's going to be like a bowl. We have suites and stuff down there now, and it's enclosed on the south end zone now completely. So if you've been to a game at the Jones and you're coming in for this one, it's going to be a little different. Visiting team is coming in actually from the other end now. They built a new visitor locker room. They're building a whole new, tech locker room and football facility to the south of the stadium where all the practice facility stuff is. They've knocked everything down. They're rebuilding, completely closed in the south end zone with new suites. And new stuff. It was I believe it was about $120 million renovation, if not more than that. So a lot of stuff coming through there. Okay. Our weatherman on Channel 13 News.
Jack, our weatherman on Channel 13 News is from Lubbock, Texas. The Texas Tech Red Raiders, and every football season he lets us know about.
Well, I'm sure that y'all let him know about it last year, so that's fine. And like I said, I just love that. I love like the hospitality and stuff like that, right? Like I feel like anyone could go to anywhere, mostly in the Big 12, and have like a decent time. So, like I said, if anyone watching this is coming down for those games, give me a shout. Like I said, love to show you some hospitality and show you a good time in Lubbock.
Sounds like a good time, man. So I appreciate you coming on. It's been an hour and 15. That's plenty long enough. I doubt most people will get through this far. If they do, they're dedicated. Been a fun conversation, man. It's nice to have somebody on here that can talk right along with me. So
yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for coming on, man. And guys, appreciate you guys for all staying in the chat. We've stayed right at 120 for over an hour, so that's pretty good. I'll take that, especially on just a preview video like this. So I'm working on getting. Obviously, we've had Tucker DeVries on. We've had Breed Carrico. We've had Kobe Oconee, several of the Mountaineers' best transfer players over on Hoops from the Hills. And we've had Breed Carrico on from the Ohio State transfer on here. We're trying to work on more. I'm still working with Tavon Austin, trying to get that figured out. He's a really busy guy. So hopefully we've got some other content coming up as far as player interviews and NIL deals. But until get some responses, it's going to be a little while, guys. So just try to remain patient, and I'll get content up every day or every other day until something breaks for us. So just stay patient with me, guys. Keep coming back. Don't forget about the giveaway now that we got you all back in here one more time. Go to WestVirginiaInsiders.com. Subscribe to Mountaineer Paul Talks Football. Subscribe to Hoots from the Hills. Get on the forum, type Eat Shit Pit. Make sure the YouTube name the name you put on there is close or the same as your YouTube name so that we can make sure you're on all three. And then we'll do a giveaway at the end of the month for this Garrett Green helmet signed by Garrett Green. All right, guys. Thank you for coming on again. And we will talk to you probably tomorrow. But until then, this episode is over. And for Jack, we are out.